So I rather be happy constantly choosing what I want to do when I want to do it, rather than just follow what other people tell me to do.
And if you fail, but you never really fail if you don't quit.
Diary Talks
with Micol
and Andreas.
Today, I want to talk about Welcome back to our episode of Diary Talks. We're super excited to be here. My name is Micol.
I'm Andreas, and the topic of today is
Age is just a number. And we have a very special guest today with us. His name is
Gianluca.
Gianluchino or Gianluca Magri complete. So welcome Gianluca, we're so excited to have you here with us.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
And just for you guys to know, he's right here, so in case we look over here, we just want to say hi to our friend. So Gianluca, where are you exactly right now?
Well, now I'm back in Bergamo, which is my hometown in Italy. Lockdown here in Italy due to the coronavirus pandemic, but trying to survive. But I'm not complaining at all to be back for a while here with my family and friends, honestly.
And how's it going with this whole quarantine, being at home?
Well, now it's the moment, we are in May and they actually started to lose a bit the lockdown. So it's getting better. It was not easy to stay 2 months completely closed into your place, because it's nice and everything, but it's it's an holiday, but not an holiday at the same time, because yes, you can do many things at home, but the fact that we really couldn't get out of our house, just, mainly for doing groceries or stuff like that. So it was a bit tough at a certain point, so I'm happy that, especially now with the end of spring, beginning of summer, we are kind of starting to release a bit the pressure and the restrictions as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's good. So how do we know you? So Gianluca is a friend of ours, obviously, and we went to school together in university in Switzerland, and I also lived with him again, because we also spoke to our Tosca last week, and I live with her as well. So he is amazing and we love him very, very much. But why did we choose the topic of age is just a number? Because you're going to look at him and he's going to be like, oh, he looks very young, which he is.
I look young, right? Exactly, I look fresh and young.
You are? Yes, which you are.
And you act young too.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's definitely crazy, so just, I don't know if you want to hear some stories, but that's going to take like 2 hours if he tells us stories. But Gianluca, how old are you?
Well, I'm 30 now. I'm gonna be turning 31 soon, but yeah, for the moment, let's say that I'm still 30.
Let's keep 30. And you graduated with us in February, whilst I'm 22 and Andreas is 23. So there is some age gap, especially at the beginning. But let's start really from the beginning and from the top of everything. So you graduated high school. Where did you study? What kind of path did you take in high school? And did you have at the time any plans for the future? Like, did you consider universities, or what was your plan at the time, like when you were finishing high school?
Well, okay, first we need to try to remember a bit, because, it was almost 11 years ago now when I graduated from high school. So it's not like you recall that it was like a couple of years ago. But, I studied here in Bergamo, so I did a classic scientific and technological high school. Mm-hmm. So mainly, any kind of major subjects were like sciences like biology, math, physics, chemistry as well. So I studied here in my hometown, graduated when I was 19, and it was it's interesting here because, of course, towards the end of my studies, I was thinking like everyone, okay, what I'm gonna do next. University was definitely an option. I didn't decided to start working and without even thinking of the option of starting a uni. So given the fact that I was doing a certain specific high school type, at the beginning I was looking into different kind of classical university path like medicine, law, engineering and stuff like that, but I realized very soon that these were not something that I was passionate about, and it was definitely not the path for me to choose. At the same
Knowing
time,
you, I wouldn't see you.
I could see him as a lawyer.
Maybe a lawyer, yes. Lawyer, yes. But I was thinking doctor, and I wouldn't see you.
Probably yes. I mean, I'm going to explain you now. I chose something similar to medicine, but my father, for example, my mama, she's retired now, but she was a teacher at middle school and high school as well. My dad instead, he's a vet, so he has a very successful clinic for horses. Since more than 25 years now, and
Like horses.
I also considered at the very beginning, when I was probably 14 or 15, I was thinking of becoming a vet and following the path of my dad. But at the same time, I was honest enough to say that I didn't really like it in a sense. You know, I liked horse riding, let's say, but becoming a vet was not for me, because of course I was also seeing my father, what he was doing, and I was like, do I really want to do that for the rest of my life? Probably not. And I was also fortunate enough to having two very supportive parents. So they always pushed me to choose what I really wanted to do and not what they wanted to do. What they wanted for me to choose, basically, So this one was definitely, I was definitely lucky enough to have this kind of support. So after having a look to all these different classical university paths, I was like, there is nothing that really kind of catches me. At the same time here, a bit I had the pressure from my parents, like, I was a good student anyway, I had good grades, I liked studying, so, why shouldn't you continue to study something? So, okay, at the beginning I was like, okay, just going to work, it was not only an option, the only option, I would say. So I was like, okay, which kind of university, although I'm not super convinced, would I like, or would I like to try? So I started, like, straight away after high school, I started pharmaceutical studies, which is kind of related to medicine. That's why before I was laughing. But then I was honest enough, and I soon realized that it was not for me. That's why after, I think, for not even a semester, I started this university in Milan, but I dropped out because I realized that it was not for me. Doing this for 5 years and then go to work most probably in a lab, it was something that it was definitely not appealing to me. So in the meantime, probably unconsciously, I would say, I realized that I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. I like to stay with people. I need to be in contact.
Really?
I need to do that kind of job, And probably because you realize it as well, because I like to talk,
So and that's why this is probably going to be our longest podcast ever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we started early.
That's why we started early.
Sometimes you can cut me, guys. I mean, if I'm talking too much, and you say, okay, John, we move on.
Hey, that's the point of this podcast, Gianluca.
Exactly. Okay.
No cuts.
No cuts. All right. So here I was like probably unconsciously, because I knew that, but I didn't really knew that at the same time. I was like, okay, instead of, my way of thinking at the time was, instead of choosing to study at a uni which I don't really like, and after 2 years dropping out, kind of wasting my time, because okay, you never waste your time when you gain new knowledge, but then why doing something like that, and then okay, after 2 years I move on to another uni, or I go to work. So unconsciously I decided was like, okay, you know what, given the fact that I like to stay between people, I like to talk to people, I was thinking since a while of why not starting, to work in a bar, because it's definitely something that matched my skill, and at the same time, I was thinking that it could have been definitely something that would help me in the future if I wanted to go back to uni. It's a skill that I could have learned and use again, probably, working during weekends, while doing uni or stuff like that. So I started to work in a traditional cafeteria here in my hometown. Meanwhile, I did some cocktail courses, bartending courses in Milan. Then, long story short, I moved to first from a classical cafeteria to clubs. So there is this beautiful club here in Bergamo. So I wanted to see also this kind of, because you know, cafeteria and nightclubs are definitely two different parts of the same
course, they're
industry.
opposite things.
Then I was like, okay, my time here in Bergamo probably is done. So I found this job in Milan, in this beautiful cocktail bar called at the beginning Doi Moi and then The Garden, where I was
Can I ask
also.
you, how much time did pass between these? Like, how
I would
much?
say
How many years
near-
was it? Like after high
I would
school,
say
for
that
example?
I worked here in Bergamo a year and a half, something like that.
Okay.
Then I moved to Milan, and here I was saying that I was lucky enough to start working in this beautiful cocktail bar where I met my very first bar mentor, Nico, which I send my regards now. Now he's in London. And so then there I got really into the world of cocktail, really nice medley cocktail, and I got even more and more passionate about it. So it started almost like, okay, let's do something like that to see where it goes. But then the more I was doing it, the more I liked it.
So what's the first cocktail that you ever learned how to make by heart, if you remember?
Sorry, say again?
The first cocktail that you learned how to make and that you knew how to make
The first
by
cocktail
heart.
I learned, actually, yes, this one I never forget it. I actually did it here in Bergamo, my first cocktail, but then it's definitely a cocktail that stayed with me for a different reason, and it's a cocktail martini. So in this cafeteria where I was working, which is a typical traditional, very nice cafe in the center of Bergamo, we were also doing some aperitifs during aperitivo time. You know, here in Italy is also quite
typical.
famous. And cocktail martini is definitely the one of James Bond drinks in all his movies. So this is definitely my first ever cocktail I made.
That's a strong cocktail.
And then another part of the story is that here in Milan, thanks to Nico, my very first bar manager, I got introduced to a company that was organizing events for Disaronno, the amaretto company. So there I also, was also doing part-time events for them. So I was one of the, let's say, official bartender of Disaronno. And this one was an amazing experience because I got to do quite cool events. The last one I did, for example, was the Venice Film Festival in 2011. So I was,
That's
I
amazing.
had the
I
pleasure
didn't know that.
to make
so
some
cool.
cocktails for some very famous actors.
For sure.
So
Wow.
cool.
Who did you serve? Who was the most
I
impressive
served
actor
a very
you served?
famous one. I served Pierce Brosnan.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Yeah,
You
I
know who that
served
is?
yeah. Robert De Niro as well. He was there
No way.
as a guest. I think he was not in competition for any movie, but I'm pretty sure he was there as a guest, basically, as an international guest.
So cool.
Imagine
That-
here.
at the
Sir,
time-
cocktail.
James Bond.
I'm plenty of stories about actors and famous people. When I moved then to London,
sure.
we can
Yeah.
arrive quickly
For
there.
sure.
So then I decided, okay, I was thinking since few months that I wanted to look at the world of hotels. So before moving to London in September, I did a season at the Sheraton Diana Majestic, which is a 4-star hotel in Milan that has a beautiful internal garden. So basically you are in the center of Milan, but you're in this beautiful garden. You don't hear any noise from the traffic. So it was just amazing, very busy during summer. So I had this experience, and then I was already thinking to move to London for two reasons. The first one is that I wanted to improve my English, and the second is because I had a specific target, which was to go to work in this beautiful cocktail bar called the Connaught Bar at the Connaught Hotel in London Mayfair. So this one is considered one of the meccas for the bar industry all over the world. You know, always at the top 10 of the world 50 best bars. And there was also this famous bartender, director of mixology, Agostino Perrone, which also became one of my mentors. You know, so moved to London.
We went there. When we went to London, we went there.
Exactly. You have
Oh
been
my
there.
god,
We
the
went
cocktail
there.
that I got was so
It was-
strong. It's so strong.
It was a bit tipsy after that. But like just this bar is amazing. The vibe that it gives you. You enter, it's dark, but everyone
very
is so
vibrant.
nice, and you feel the class where you're
Oh
at.
yeah, for me it was like an old town London bar
It's-
where like the upper class went But like, you know, you had everyone in there from
No,
every
exactly. You
sorts of
didn't
people.
feel uncomfortable.
But like the
anyway.
way they treated you made you feel like you were.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what they tried
amazing.
to. That's what they tried to recreate also with the design and everything. Like a vibrant cocktail bar inside the 5-star hotel. So you have the 5-star hotel service, but it feels like very relaxed in terms of atmosphere. It's not like
Yeah.
It was really
you
cool.
Exactly.
know,
Plus,
you
I
don't
mean,
feel
you told-
uncomfortable when you're there, basically.
You told your friends that we were gonna be there, so they treated us even more.
Yeah, they gave us free
They gave us,
champagne
like,
in the beginning.
Exactly. And we were like, oh wow, okay, so fancy.
And they even had someone in the bathroom. Like that's when
Oh,
you know.
yeah, that's where he was
It's an
shocked.
experience.
Like, Andreas has his ways of knowing. He came out of the bathroom, he's like, do you know, in the bathroom, there was a woman or no, man?
That was a bad.
No,
Right,
man.
no.
In the men's,
It was a
in the men's room there is a
Because
man.
American.
No, but like that's when
There
you
was a
know
man,
you're in
and he
a
turned on the
proper
water.
establishment because like you go in the bathroom,
5-star
there's someone who
service.
turns on the water for you. There's someone who turns it off, gives you
So
mints
attached.
as well. It's like
Yes,
Yeah,
you're
he
right.
was shocked.
Because I was surprised as well. I was surprised as well the first time I started to work there to see all these little details that can really make a difference. It was my first 5-star hotels also ever, so
For
yeah.
sure. That's
Um,
crazy.
And
Continue.
just to conclude, and then otherwise I can still talk for another half an hour. But
Oh,
just
we
to
know
conclude,
that.
basically, when I moved to London, it was not easy because it sounds like easy. I moved there, I started to work there. You know, it wasn't like this. So I first I was hosted by a friend of mine who gave me basically a place to sleep for a couple of months while I was settling up. I started to work in the cocktail bar kind of / club where he was bar manager for 3 months, and then at a certain point when I felt like, okay, you know, I improved a bit my level of English. I'm not saying I'm completely ready to go to the Connaught and propose myself as a bartender, but probably they needed a bar back. So I went
Yeah.
there. I remember after a couple of months I was in London, I went there one night with a couple of friends, and I talked to the bar manager after a couple of drinks, so at least I was a bit more relaxed. And I explained my story, and I was like, I came to London to work here, so if you have any open position, I would be interested to have a chat with you guys. So what happened was that he told me, look, Gianluca, at the moment we are not looking for anyone, but if you want to, at the time the bar was still closed on, was opening at 4 p.m. So every day from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. So, and you had the morning supervisor that was doing all the setup of the bar, preparing all the homemade products that they have and stuff like this. So he said, if you want to, you can start to come here on Monday to see all these preparations. And then whenever there is a position, we can offer it to you. So I did that for like 4 weeks or something like that. Then
really
they realized
cool.
that they needed the bar back. So I dropped out from my first job in London. Started to work as a barback at the Connaught. Then I moved up to bartender, and then during the last year, I was promoted to bar supervisor.
that's amazing.
That's amazing. Like the story of the evolution, like, and it shows like when you really want something, like you went to London with that objective in mind that you wanted to go and you wanted to work there in that place.
Yeah.
And you got it. Like you started from the bottom, but then you went up.
Started from the bottom, now I'm here. Started from the
Anyways.
bottom, now my whole team's here.
Like you see how when you can really, like when you really want something, you achieve it, you work for it, and you
Yeah.
get there. And that's
I would say that it was
your
a-
living proof of that.
That's really cool.
I would say that it was a mix of, hard work, motivation, and also, why not, a bit of luck, being at the right time at the right
Sure.
place. All the combination of everything kind of paid back, let's say.
I mean, you always need some luck in life. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's always like
You know,
hard
the right
work,
place at
but
the
then
right
you
time.
need that little spark that helps you bring it up.
But like, there's something interesting that I want to ask you. Is like, when you decided that you weren't going to university right after high school, did your friends say anything to you? Like, oh, this is the wrong decision.
Oh yes. That one was an interesting part of the story, let's say, because of course, I had my first my family, and then also my closest friends. They were a bit surprised, like, why don't you continue? I mean, they were all going to uni as well, either here in Bergamo or in Milan. And they were like, you know, why did you drop out, and why did you go to work as a bartender? You know, they were all a bit,
Didn't make.
they didn't really understand it at the beginning. Of course, my parents as well, but not just my friends. But then they kind of, I'm always being honest with myself and with everyone. So they, at the end of the day, I can try to, convince you of something, or I can try to discuss something with you. But at the end of the day, if this makes you happy and you're totally convinced about it, then I'm going to be your first supporter. So at the end, they realized that that's what I wanted to do, and that's what made me happy, and they accepted it.
If they're true friends, if they're family, and they understand that's what makes you happy, I mean, that's what they should do, and that's what should happen. So that's good.
And just another one is like, when you were going around after high school, did you find it difficult that you didn't have a degree or some sort of qualifications after high school to find a job, or no?
Well, let's say that for the bar industry was not necessary to have a university degree, but at the same time, and that's what I always said to my parents, is that I'm not discarding, especially when I first started, I never discarded the idea completely of going back to uni at a certain point. So it was not like, of course, to be a bartender, you have to study a lot as well. You don't have an official degree or anything, but, you need to know how to make your guest happy. You need to know your recipes. You need to know how to work behind the bar. You need to have a certain kind of structure and discipline. So these things is still, in a way, a kind of different kind of learning. Okay, you don't follow classes and learn books after book, but at the same time, it's still learning. So it was definitely not easy.
That's so true. That's so true. Like, you sometimes forget that in general, like, for the not easiest things, because it's obviously not easiest, but if you think, like, there's so much work behind everything that you do. Like, also the things that are, like, apparent, like, as you said, you need to learn the cocktail. It seems so easy when you go to a bar and they make it for you.
Oh, it's not.
But it's not.
So
like,
hard.
A person who's, like, especially in these high-class bars, like,
you can't get anything wrong.
you really need to, like, know everything by heart, know your recipes by heart, like, and have the preparation behind it. And it's not that you're just doing one cocktail, you're doing like 5 maybe at the same time. And then you have to actually be present with the people, because it's not that you're like just focused on the cocktail, you actually have to talk to the people.
But there's, like, it also depends on where you are, because like for him, like the Connaught, it's like well known, so like people know their shit, like. It's not like you go to a random pub and you order a thing and you're like, oh, he put vodka instead of, like, I'm sure half of these people wouldn't really know.
Of course.
They order something, they could taste something's off if it's off.
Of course.
So you need to be on his game.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of work.
Totally agree with you.
And so then you arrived at 26, and what changed your mind? How did you start, like, how do you think, okay, you never disregarded the thought of going to university, but why at that point you were like, okay, it's time for me to get back, and why EHL, which is the university you all went to?
It's kind of quite simple, I would say, and straightforward. I decided, at the beginning, I was very into bartending, becoming a famous bartender, like trying to really develop my cocktail skills and everything. But at a certain point, I realized that I was more interested into the management side of it. So that's why I applied, and I got promoted as a bar supervisor at the Connaught. So there, I was not really, basically not doing cocktails anymore behind the bar, but I was working on the floor, making sure that all the guests that were coming in had the best experience of their life, and also doing some back office job in front of the computer, like looking at budgets, orders, and stuff like that. So when I started this phase, I had the pleasure to have a chat with Natalie Seiler, which at the time was the general manager at the Connaught, and now she's the general manager of the Beau Rivage in Lausanne. So when I explained to her, like, because she was like, yeah, Gianluca, congratulations on your promotion and everything, and then she asked me, what do you want to do afterwards? Which are your plans? And I told her that there I started to get back in the mindset. You know what? I really like so much the management side of the hospitality. I really like so much hospitality. Why not going back to uni now? Because otherwise probably it's going to get a bit too late also. But why not going back to uni now and study hospitality management? And of course, she was an EHL alumna, so she told me everything about how beautiful is studying at EHL, how great is the university. She had the most amazing 4 years of her life, so
We all
I
did.
should have. She suggested me to have a look into this uni and apply for it. So I had a look to different kind of unis, but then I decided to apply to EHL, and I was like, okay, you know what? At this point, either I get accepted and I stop everything and I go to study EHL, or if I don't get accepted for whatever reason, I keep on working here in London. Of course, when I said that to my parents, they were extremely happy. So also because studying in Switzerland is not cheap, but my parents were supportive as well on this side. They were extremely happy. So they just decided to, of course, support me, and finally, right, I would say it was September 2015, something like that. I received the email of getting accepted at EHL. I was extremely happy. I remember I received it in the morning, like during breakfast before going to work. So I was extremely happy.
I remember my email as well. I was on the sofa. I just
Exactly. It's a moment that
graduated.
you don't forget in a way.
I didn't realize it was the email. I just like received, because EHL at the time like always sent you some emails. Maybe it was just news. So I just opened. I received an email. I was like, okay, let's check. And then it was, congratulations, Micol.
Yes.
You have been accepted. I was like, no way. But nobody was at home, so I couldn't really have fun.
I-
Everyone else just
For me,
like,
it was
I started crying by
Well,
myself on
if
the
I-
sofa.
if-
I was trying to call everyone and
For
nobody
me, it was different though, because like I applied for the September intake.
So you shouldn't have been with us.
I shouldn't have been with you guys at all, because like my brother applied for the September intake as well, but got postponed, so he had to take the February intake. So then I was like, okay, they're gonna postpone me because we have the exact same CVs, blah blah blah. They accepted me for the September intake, and my dad started freaking out. He's like, oh no, we did this on purpose. We need to take the February intake. So we called. Fortunately, they postponed me for 6 months. But I remember I called my brother, and he was at BDS, which was the restaurant at school, taking a break because they were celebrating something. So he was having fun. And he was like, I called him. I remember. I called him, and he was like, I was like, oh, I got into THL. He was like, what? I was like, I got into THL. He's like, oh, nice, man. That's it.
That's it.
That's cool.
Well,
It's
it
like
was
a-
definitely
A good
Also
moment,
that,
like it's
so
a
weird,
nice
for
moment,
sure.
you know, you feel good.
Yeah, 100%.
But like, how did you feel like when you first started EHL? Okay, you started with a bunch of babies in your eyes. 'Cause you were 26.
Kind
and
of,
you
let's
had
say, I
her-
mean, let's
She
say
just
that I had
turned
only a few
18.
years of difference. Only a few years of difference.
Like,
Well, I
No,
was
but it's true,
26,
like,
Let's say that the average was 22, something like that. So yeah, let's say that I had 4 or 5 years, even sometimes with Micol even more, 6 years of age difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, but it's true, I was a baby when I started. I really literally turned 18 in January, and I couldn't start in September because I would have applied for September as well, but I was
Exactly.
17. So they wouldn't accept me.
True.
So I had to wait until February in order to start and turn 18 and start with the intake. And then it's true, I didn't realize that there were people that were older than me, like Gianluca, for example. And
Which was
it's
not
just like
also-
when you're in university.
It was not also that uncommon at school, right?
I don't know. No,
Because,
most of the people were actually older. I was
it's not
one
a
of the youngest
traditional
ones.
university. So you had people. There was also another girl I remember that was my age.
Mhm.
Couple of people that were a couple of years only younger than me. So it was not that uncommon
Yeah, yeah.
anyway at THL.
No,
yeah,
it's-
and especially because like it's in Switzerland, so there was a lot of Swiss students, and a lot of them went to military
Mhm.
after high
Exactly.
school.
yeah.
So that when they got to EHL, they were around 22, 23, like so.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually more weird for me than for them practically. Like I think it was maybe the same thing. Then there were obviously more that had 18, like that were 18,
Yeah.
but still I was young.
But was
Compared
it
to the
hard
rest.
for you to relate to these? No, I wouldn't say young people, but like having almost 5 years of difference, having a lot of that professional experience that you had, having just real world experience, and now you have to be in a class with kids who just finished high school or kids who've never worked in their lives. Was it hard for you?
Like,
Okay.
did you ever feel the gap? I think the real gap that there is probably with one that just finishes high school
And another
that
who's just working as
that
a
has
forest
worked for 10
supervisor
years.
at the Connaught.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have to tell you the truth, and I really didn't feel the age difference. What I always say is that I felt mature enough for my age at the time, but at the same time I feel so young inside. You know, I still feel like I don't feel I'm 30 honestly now. I feel mature, yes, but I don't feel I'm 30. So I never really felt this kind of age difference. And what I realized as well, which one thing that I was surprised of, and also let's say help to reduce this age difference, is the fact that you know it's a very EHL has a very international background of people. You know, students have speak 3-4 languages, lived already in 2-3 different countries in their life. They are 19, 20. So I honestly felt that they were way more mature at that age than when I was in their age. So
We're still
this one
more
for me was
mature.
positively surprising,
Like
for
us.
example. Exactly. Now Micol is very mature girl. So this one also helped
I mean, he
to
said
don't-
Micol.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
I just want to point out he said Micol is very mature. He didn't mention Andreas.
Andrea and
Hey,
Andrea and I
that's
are very
fine.
much
We-
similar in many other ways.
Yeah. We'll keep it at that. That's as far as it goes.
So yeah, so I didn't really feel bad in a way of being in a classroom with younger people at the beginning, and they actually made me feel even more young than I felt already. You know, so
Well,
we know that. We know that. We're gonna tell a couple of stories after.
being older, was it hard to keep up with the younger crowd, especially like you
Partying.
drink and having hangover, like
26
like we know
is still at 26 you
You
can
know-
still do a lot of things. Trust me. So
But not
let's
as
say
much as
also
when you're
drinking
18,
wise, party wise. Definitely, of course, the age difference could have helped a bit more the younger ones, but I had a lot to teach in terms of how to party to these people as well, eh? So it was a compensation of both. It was a compensation of both, especially the first semester when you do the AP, the preparatory semester, when you do a lot of workshop and everything, and let's say that you have a bit more free time than when you start the bachelor program. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and as I said, it was a give and take,
But it must have been nice for you because there was a lot of girls in our AP class who really liked older gentlemen, so it must have been really nice for you.
Exactly,
get a lot
that's
of
what I said. I
ladies?
didn't complain. I'm not complaining at all that I was a bit older as well.
They like more experienced men.
No,
Experience is something
the
that you
truth
Cannot
is we're
buy
asking.
Andrea, right? So if you have it, you have to use it as an asset.
And what happened to me? Why am I with you? You're just 1 year
Well,
old.
you want to talk about
he's still
the
older
AP?
Than you anyway.
No, that's fine. Yes, he's still older, that's true. But what I wanted to point out is the fact that actually Gianluca, he was the party animal of like.
Yeah, you partied more than me.
He partied more than everyone.
Well, everyone partied more than you.
No, that's not true.
Yeah,
Okay,
kind
like
of.
boss-
I mean,
At the end, you
you
never
were into
partied.
Just
different
the
kind
last
of
semester,
parties.
but
You're an
every other
amazing salsa
semester I was-
dancer. You're an amazing salsa dancer, so you're into different kind of parties. Let's say different kind
Yeah,
of
that's
music.
true. That's true.
That's
That's true. But so, like, we're making fun of him in the sense we're asking the questions like, was it hard to keep up? Truth is,
We knew. We know.
Like, we know that
He made everyone go. He's the one he was the one that was like giving everyone that kick. Die, die, let's go. More. And like at one point you're just like, I can't, and you wonder like how does he have so much energy? Well,
I
that's
was
where the
getting
experience
upset.
comes in.
I was
True, but
getting-
the next day, wait a second, because the next day I lived the next day of Gianluca, and the next day was just him sleeping until like
And
3
this-
p.m.,
Of course,
waking up, and from the bed go to the sofa for the whole day, and that's it. So I
It
know
takes
how the-
when you grow up, it takes a bit longer also to recover from an hangover.
Yeah.
That's
True.
obvious. So this is the downside of it. But I was getting also upset at 2:00 in the morning when people were leaving to go to go home. I was like, where are you going? It's so early. I mean.
For sure. Let's go back to the more serious side here, because if not, we could tell a lot
we can
of
talk about
funny
parties all day long,
stories
so
of
it's not a
both of
problem.
you, because I'm very good. So, back to the university and the choice. Are you happy with the decision you made? Would you change anything, or is there like something like different like that you would have done?
Honestly, when I talked to a lot of people before going to EHL, and everyone said the same thing. You're gonna have the 4 best, amazing year of your life. And now that we all have graduated, I can say that they were right. So I'm not. I'm not complaining at all about my choice. I do not regret anything. I'm absolutely happy. Also because, for example, I was lucky enough to meet this guy, which then became a very good friend of mine, Tim Lang. That basically, when I was still working at the Connaught, he was doing his first internship at the Claridge's, which is the sister hotel of the Connaught in London.
Yep.
So he came to the bar once because he wanted to see this famous bar and everything, wanted to taste a couple of cocktails. And then when he told me, yeah, I came here because, I'm about to finish my internship going back to uni, I was like, where do you study? I studied in Switzerland. They said, don't tell me that you studied at DHL because I just applied there. And he's like, yeah, I studied
there. That's so cool.
So we kept in touch and everything. And then we became very good friends. So, made another lifetime friend. So this one was definitely a good thing. Again, if I look back now to my 20s, I do not regret any decision I take because, of course, anyone can choose anything they want. If you're happy to stay in your hometown, study in your hometown, live the rest of your life in your hometown, it's absolutely fine. For me, if I look back at my 20 anyways, I learned a job, which is bartending, which is it's an extremely exciting job. I lived for almost 4 years in London. I studied 4 years in Switzerland. I also did 2 internships because of EHL. So I lived and worked in Amsterdam and Hong Kong. I met so many people from all over the world in London and at EHL as well, because we had more, during our 4 years, we had, I think, more than 100 different nationalities at school. So it was a great chance also to meet people from all over the world. Now, if you as well, guys, you go everywhere in Europe or in America or in a bit in Southeast Asia, you choose a country, a person that you can call and have a chat with, or it can help you to go around. So how beautiful is that?
It's amazing.
So
we asked you the question.
At all.
We asked you the question: who is the most famous person that you served before you moved to London? Now, has it changed? Who is the most famous person you served while in London?
Well, if I can, let's continue. Let's continue with. Well, I met a lot of famous, let's say, people in London at the Connaught. But one thing that I can tell you is that because when I was working for Disaronno, I made the Disaronno sour, which is a very simple drink for Pierce Brosnan. When he came to the Connaught, and I still remember that night, I was bar supervisor, so I was working I was in a suit and I was working on the floor. But at the Connaught is also famous because they make this beautiful bespoke martini called the Connaught martini. So you have this beautiful, you have seen it as well when you've been there. You have this amazing trolley, and you go at the table, you make the drink, the cocktail martini in front of the guest, and they have the possibility to personalize the aftertaste of the drink with 7 different bitters, 7 different flavors. You can choose just one or a combination of both, also depending on which day you had or which time of the day it is. And I remember that at the time, it was 2015, and Pierce Brosnan, one of the very famous and last James Bond, 007, he came at the Connaught to have a drink with his wife, because I think he was recording some movie or something in London at the time, and he was in a tuxedo as well, so he really looked like James Bond, And what did he order? He ordered a Connaught martini. So I took the trolley, I went to the table, I explained to him and his wife the drink, the concept. And then, you know, I just started with, after I explained it, I was like, well, you know, if you want it shaken because you usually drink it shaken, it's fine. But here at the Connaught, we stir it, we don't shake it, you know, like you usually order it. So he started to laugh and he said, you know, no, absolutely, do it your own way. I'm absolutely excited to see it. So I made a Connaught martini for him. And, you know, I can say that I made a Connaught martini for, a cocktail martini for James Bond.
That's so crazy.
Did you call? I would have totally called him James, Mr. Bond. I would have been like, how are you doing, Mr. Bond?
That's so cool. That's amazing. That's really, really, really cool.
Shaken, not stirred, 2 eyes, oh eyes.
Exactly.
Wait, I don't know.
This is stirred, not shaken.
never
You know,
knew.
it's the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. That is crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly,
it was
it's
cool.
amazing.
Like, I had a
I mean-
similar experience.
I'm plenty of stories. Yeah, I'm really plenty of stories. Some of them can be explained, some of them not. But you know, it's a bit more.
Gianluca, you want to hear the story of Andreas? Because
So,
it's
like,
not
yes.
as exciting, but for him it was like,
Absolutely.
No, it
yes,
was really
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
You know, I was working at the Mandarin Oriental in Geneva,
Okay.
and
yeah.
we always in banqueting, and we always had like a lot of like breakfast and stuff like that. And one week we had the IWC, which is like like a really famous watch company, and all of those who are sponsors, who are brand ambassadors or whatnot. So this whole week was just filled with famous people. I remember I had to serve Adriana Lima.
Okay.
right, yeah, that close
That's
heart
not bad,
attack.
Andreas.
Victoria's-
That's not bad. Absolutely.
Victoria's
You know,
Secret
absolutely.
model. But
Maybe
I remember
better than
What was
James
your
Bond?
reaction?
I was shook. I couldn't. I like froze. And then no, but another one was like another really cool person that I met was I was like working behind like not a bar like bartending bar, but like the bar like banqueting bar whatever. And I was making like orange juice and stuff like that. And all I hear was like, and I can't do his accent very well, but he's like, "Can I get an orange juice, please?" And I look up and it was Lewis Hamilton, and I was just like, "What?" Like I was like, "Yeah, here." You know, I was shaking because like,
Yeah,
but
You
like.
could have said
It was
you were
really cool.
thinking you were going
That's
slow.
so cool.
You could have said, sorry, I'm not going as fast as you, but you know, I'm still serving you in a way.
Yeah, can you imagine?
You know,
I had a similar experience, Andrea. I had a similar experience. I was working behind the bar. I was just doing something like taking the ice or filling up a glass or something. As soon as I look in front of me again, bam, Harrison Ford. You know, the famous Indiana Jones, Han Solo in
sure.
Star Wars. So I was like, huh, where do you come from? I mean, you were not here a couple of seconds ago. And I remember he was super humble, super like very nice person. I also told him like, do you want a table or something? The bar was quite busy, but we still had a few tables. And he was like, no, it's fine. I'll stay here at the bar. He had his own vodka on the rocks, splash of lime, bam, very nice. We had a very nice chat. Paid and he left.
Oh,
I love how you remember this.
A regular
like, he had his
Saturday
own vodka on the
afternoon at the
rocks, splash of lime.
I love how the details that you have in memory of these like moments. It's so cool. Like of course they kind of stay in you because it's
Yeah.
something that like you remember because you loved it. and
Orange
something
juice. I
weird.
remember that. Lewis Hamilton. If you ever need your orange juice again, I got you. So like now we've reached the point where it's like, okay, you're 30 now.
Yeah.
You're done with uni. You've had a crazy work experience. But in like a normal mindset, it's okay. When you reach 30, you have a stable professional life, and now it's time to think about a family or what you're gonna do with the personal life. If you have a girlfriend, if you don't, like trying to find someone who you're gonna mate with for the rest of your life.
Excuse me. You're gonna mate?
No, okay, but like in all seriousness, it's like, okay, now like I'm 30, I have to think about the future. Will I start a family? Will I not? Does this put any pressure on you? Like, obviously it shouldn't, because as we just mentioned, age is just a number. Everyone has their own timeline. But is there anything that's putting any pressure on you? Like
Friends
maybe
maybe as well.
that, like
I
high
have
school
to
friends
tell you
that
this
you
thing.
had?
Do I feel pressured for these? No. And I explain you why. What you just described in the question is exactly what society in a way tells you to do, you know? You need to finish high school, you need to get a degree, you need to get a job, be kind of professionally stable around 30, then find someone, get married, buy a house, buy a car, do a couple of childrens, and then live your life. Pam, pam, pam. All in a format, all pre-decided by someone else. But what you also said, which is absolutely true, is that everyone has their own pace. It doesn't mean that because I'm 30 and then just graduated now and I don't have a professionally stable life or stuff, or I'm not married yet, it doesn't mean that I'm going slower than you or somebody else. It's just everyone has their own space, and their own pace. So I don't feel pressured at all, and I feel good about it for the fact that I decided to go at my own pace, because I also see sometimes not just friends but people around me that they follow the pre-format path that society tells you to do, and then they end up to a point where they're not happy. So I rather go at my own pace, but I'm being happy at every step, at every milestone of my life. You know, if you remember, Andreas, do you remember when we did the branding course during the last semester at EHL? And this Yuri, amazing teacher, he was telling us that Yuri. He was telling us that he also does a personal branding course for professionals. And he said that he was surprised the first time he gave this course, because he thought he would have had 25, 30 years old people to have this kind of course. Instead, the majority, his main target market, were people in their 40s or in their 50s, that they reached also a very nice career. They did a beautiful career path. They are also in a very high position, well-paid jobs, but they're not happy. Why? Because they didn't choose what they liked at the beginning. You know, they followed the pre-format step process, but they were not happy at the end. So I rather be happy constantly choosing what I want to do when I want to do it, rather than just follow what other people tell me to do.
And that's so amazing.
I think that's the biggest lesson.
I rather have few discussions, arguments with someone who really take care of me. Like, for example, with my parents back then, when they told me, "Are you sure you want to go to work in a bar and not going to study?" You know, stuff like that. Of course, you always need to listen to the people around you who you know that really care about you. But at the same time, you really, for me at least, that's my philosophy, you should also listen inside you and really choose, do, and follow what you really want. Not what other people tells you to do, or do something because you feel pressured. You feel, I don't know, peer pressure or society pressure to do something now, because usually that's the time when people go to uni, or usually that's the time when people have a family, you know?
True.
So that's my vision on that.
No, but like, it's amazing, like what you just said, because like a lot of people, like I think I can say, including me, you know, your parents put so much pressure on you to do what, like exactly what you said, society. So, you know, after, especially in America, you know, like after high school you need to go to college, after college you need to find a job, after job you need to, like exactly what you said. And I was actually having this thought a couple weeks ago, and even a couple days ago. It's like, okay, shit, like I'm 23 and in 7 years I need to be stable. I need to,
sorry if I interrupt you, but going back to the title of this video podcast, I'm 23, and now I would tell you, and where is the problem?
True.
You still have the whole life in front of you. You still have so much time to enjoy life, to learn what you want, to meet who you want. So why would you feel pressure to do something because you're already 23? I'm only 30, so, you know.
I love it. I love you.
No, but it's like, but also like for me, it's like, okay, like as I said, I was 23, and like my brother is 25. He has a stable job in London. He's living by himself. He's independent completely, and like he's enjoying life. And I'm 23. I don't know what I want to do yet. I'm still kind of dependent on my dad a bit. It's just like,
this is
like,
also a bit of the situation.
It's hard to not think that you're not doing wrong.
Situation though, because yes, we are all living a pandemic, so don't feel pressured. The fact that you still didn't find the job you like or anything. It's same for me anyway. So we graduated in probably not the best time to graduate, like the people that graduated in 2008, 2009. But I think we can do great things, especially because we graduated in such an uncertain situation.
Are you ready for just a little quiz to see your random knowledge in the world?
Yeah, man, let's see.
Okay, so
Do I win something?
Well, no, you don't win anything, but it's fun.
When
Well-
shares on Corner Trader, Gianluca.
all right. That's interesting enough.
So, how old was the oldest person to ever graduate university? Was it
Around
A,
the world. Around the
in all
world.
the world, yes.
around the world?
Okay, tell me
The options.
A, 35,
Yeah.
B, 47, C, 98, or D,
78.
78, or D, 95?
I'm definitely in doubt between the last two because I know that there are some elderly people that still want to do uni at a certain point. So 75 or 98 years. No, 78 or 95.
Yeah.
Yes.
well, you
You can still be, sharp enough to have a degree at 95, but I would go for 78.
Ooh, you should have went with your
Should
gut.
have said 95.
95, I knew it, you
Yes.
see? I knew it.
Because at 95, this woman, Nola Ox, she's an American woman from Kansas who graduated from Fort Hays State University in Kansas. It was actually really interesting reading about this story because she earned a general studies degree with an emphasis in history, and she actually graduated alongside her granddaughter, who's 21.
So
Age
they
is just
graduated
a number.
together.
Age
And
is just a number.
number.
Age
That's
is just
amazing.
The number, you see?
I think is there any
Well-
last piece of advice, Gianluca, that you would like to give? I can't speak anymore. You would like to give to the people that are listening to us right now, especially people that are afraid of this kind of timeline or are afraid to be different, because in a certain sense you were different and you went against what social norms would establish. Any last piece of advice you would tell these people?
you said something
In the question, like they're afraid to be different.
Yeah.
The first advice I would say is exactly this: don't be afraid to be different. Dare to be different sometimes. You don't need necessarily to be different because, as I said before, some people, probably most of the people, are happy to live a normal life. As I said, getting a degree, get a job, build a family in the same city for the rest of their life, and it's absolutely fine because this is what you like. If this is what makes you happy, boom, that's it. I don't need to be happy for you. If you're fine with that, everyone else needs to be happy for you. But if you want to be different, if you feel like that you're made for a different kind of path, don't be afraid to be different. Actually, try to transform. For me, it's try to transform, to change this feeling of being afraid into a feeling of excitement. It's that kind of feeling that keeps you going, because sometimes it's not easy to, of course, be different and choose different pathways or unusual pathways. But if you have that kind of drive inside you to be different, that's what helps you also to keep on going. Again, always follow, listen to your parents, always listen to your closest friends and people around you that, of course, knows you and really want to help you. But at the end of the day, I really would suggest you to look inside you, take all the advice, put everything on a plate, also listen what you have inside you, and then make your own decision. Because this is, at the end of the day, if you weight everything that you have in front of you, and then you choose what you really want, it will also, I think, help you in the future when you look back to do not have any regrets. Because if you follow what, okay, but it would be better if I do this because then, it's better anyway, it's more normal or whatever. Then after a few years, you look back and you're going to have regrets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd rather be happy and have probably had a couple more of discussions, arguments with someone, but still be happy and have chosen what I really wanted to do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's
I would
That's
say,
such a valuable
you know,
lesson.
I'm not 50 or 60, so I don't have a life experience in front of me, behind me to really give advice to people, but because I'm a bit older than you guys, if I would have to give you an advice, that would be my advice.
That's
No, and it's
amazing.
actually cool that you say that because, like, for me, when like I didn't really know Gianluca in the beginning of EHL when we started, but it's really until the last year and a half where I started to know him and get to know him longer or more, and I'm really grateful of that because like every time I had a question about just life or just how to act or just about anything, I always asked what he thought because like I looked up to him in that sense because like. He was like my father figure at EHL, like, you know.
yeah,
Okay.
like be not.
Another big brother, let's say.
It's like big brother, like okay, like a big brother thing because like no, like every time I needed like advice, like I valued his opinion more than I wouldn't say like everyone else's, but yeah, kind of like than everyone else's. And like Gianluca, thank you for being there. Thank you
For being here.
On
It
our
was
show.
Thank you guys. You know, it's
for
been a
continuing
pleasure.
to be
Really,
there for
an
us.
interesting conversation.
It was a beautiful conversation. I think we had fun. We had also like really interesting topics. And extremely important lessons of life that you have taught us, but that we discussed all together. And that's exactly what this podcast is all about. It's really trying to talk to people, share experiences, and learn from those experiences because there's always
Exactly.
something to learn from everyone's experiences. So that's really what Diary Talks is all about. It's like putting yourself out as a person as you did because you told us your life practically and really make something out of this and help the people that are listening to
So
us.
if there are any of you out there who just finished high school or in the middle of high school and you don't know exactly if you want to go to university or not, just weigh your options, see what will make you the happiest and follow that path because dare to be different and that'll make you happy.
And if you then decide to actually go to university after, I mean, there's
It's
always
never too
time.
late.
It's never too late.
95 years old.
We have
95
seen
years
that, right? So
Exactly,
Gianluca,
exactly. If I can add up one thing here,
Yes, of
exactly
course.
before I said, it could definitely be 95, but then I went for the 78. You know, and if I would have followed my guts, I would have given the right answer. So sometimes, you know, going back to young people that you said, you know, they're looking into options after high school and everything. Sometimes you do not have the precise answer. Sometimes you don't know exactly if what
Could make you happy is the right decision,
Right.
but some gut feeling tells you to go in that direction.
follow your gut feeling because most of the time they're absolutely right.
yeah.
And I actually saw this thing and it's like, okay, if you don't know what you want to do, try. And you never know if you don't
Exactly.
try. And if you fail, you fail. But you never really fail if you don't quit.
True.
Exactly. And also,
True. I love
try.
that.
It's better that you try now. It's better that you try now that you're young and you have time also to try and fail and retry, rather than trying when you have a family and you cannot really try
Of
many
course.
things because you also have to take care of a family or you have a stable job or whatever, you know. So being in your
Absolutely.
20s is the time where you really need to try out stuff.
Go out for it. Amazing.
So-
Gianluca, it was an honor
Perfect.
and a pleasure to have
It's
you
been a
here.
pleasure for
Thank
me,
you
guys.
so much. Thank you so much. And
Grazie
guys,
mille.
Prego,
grazie
guys.
mille. And guys,
Really hope to see you
please-
soon in Miami.
Oh
Absolutely.
yes. Well, of course. I mean, next time you have to make us the shaken martini or the stirred. No, shaken. What? Anyways, next
The
time you're
shaken
gonna make us a cocktail.
No, it's
You
okay.
can cut this part,
Bye, guys.
thanks.
See you soon.
No. Well, anyways, and guys, if you like this episode, if you like us, and if you like the topic of discussions, please subscribe down there. And we hope you had fun with us.
Thank you so much, guys. Remember
Thank
what
you.
we said, age is just
A number. Woo! Bye, guys. Thank you. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching this, well, check that one out.
And if you like us, subscribe to our channel to see more videos and to keep posting.